My poetry is theatre. Essentially, when I write poetry, I cannot escape from my theatrical persona. It's always there. My scenography, my way of expression, my characters within my poetry are all very theatrical. Concurrently with my work in the theatre and television, there was my poetic expression. You cannot choose one from the other. And that intrigued a lot of my critics when it came to assessing the values of my poetry, because they realize that they cannot siphon what is theatrical and what is essentially a poetic impulse. The idea was to assemble 4 to 6 Maltese artists that practice in different genres, in my case, a writer, and more specifically, a poet. And together, we traveled as hosted by the Chinese Cultural Center to the province of Guangxi. It was arduous. It wasn't an easy journey because there were mountains, there were hazards, there was rain, tropical rain, and there were insects. It was very challenging physically and also spiritually and intellectually. Guangxi and the provinces around are God's gift to mankind. Some places which, in my opinion, are paradise on earth. After returning to Malta, I revised my mental notes and some notes in my diary, and let myself be inspired by what I've been through. The experience was indelible. And I came up with a set of 6 poems, and I, of course, in Maltese, and immediately Mr. Young said, I would like to read them in English so I understand. As soon as Mr. Young understood what I wrote about, he immediately came up with the idea of publishing a trilingual book. They are impressions of my love for China. Expressions that have been focused in this instance on my experience in Guangxi. I have an innate love for the country. I have constantly been in contact with what was happening on the Chinese cultural in the Chinese cultural sector. I am very aware of what's being written in China at the moment. I am very fond of some Chinese authors who I am trying to promote for being translated into Maltese. My collection is what, in my opinion, in my critics' opinion, are the best of whatever I have written in terms of poetry. So I have been very careful to select what I thought was worth publishing or republishing, because most of the works published in Poeziji 1964-2019 is work which was published before in various books which I've written, published throughout the years. But there was a section which was new poetry, but that is only what, 20-30% of the contents. This particular book is a journey through my literary life because it represents samples. It presents samples of a stylistic adventure. I realized that being a Maltese Australian, I never looked back, and therefore I was very much into multiculturalism my poetry became an expression of hybridity. So to me, it's important. Also, in my studies at Victoria University, I realized how a person, a writer especially, people like Salman Rushdie, become very much stronger than being of one culture, rather than one culture intertwine other cultures in his identity.